Welcome to the Passion to Profession podcast. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Dan, and I am with the wonderful Pam Fountas. How are you doing, Pam?
Hi, I'm doing great. A bit tired. It's launch week, but the coffee, but I'm good.
When does your launch close?
At noon today. So what we have like an hour left?
We're recording. Yeah, if you're listening live, you know this, but yeah, literally in 1 hour, Pam's launch is closing. Congratulations.
Thank
Guys,
you.
let me give you a quick intro to Pam, and then we're going to jump into some very exciting topics. So, grab my notes here. So Pam is based in Ontario, Canada. I think we've had multiple people on the show from Ontario, haven't we? And Pam is a fitness and lifestyle coach. She's the founder of Limitless Living Method and is currently building her Limitless Living PassionApp. She has, just got to the end of her launch, and I won't ruin the results just yet because Pam can tell us. How did you get on with your launch?
Awesome. I've got 30 women raring to go as of now. So yeah, super pumped. Yeah.
Wow, 30 women. That is so awesome. How long
Mhm.
was your launch?
So I extended it because I couldn't keep up with the calls, the
Yeah.
call schedule.
Yeah.
And so because people wanted it as late into this morning. So hang on, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I added a day. I added a 6th day. I ended up adding a 6th day just because I couldn't keep up with the calls and somehow
Yeah.
be balanced.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. And if you're listening or watching and you're not aware of what this all means, it means that Pam has been working very hard over the last 6 days. Because with your very first launch, we recommend that, when you're launching your Passion app for the first time, that you speak to people on the phone because you get to know what their needs are, what their challenges are, etc. So how many calls have you had in 6 days?
So I think I've had 18 calls, but that being said, what I did is because I know a lot of women wanted a call, but they bought already. So majority of people actually closed before the call. So there was only 3 that ended up being sales calls. So I let them, I kind of as an extra bonus said, up until Wednesday next week, you can have kind of a strategy call to just really set the tone for kickoff.
Wow.
So I added some spots just almost as like a thank you, really, because they bought without asking anything.
Yeah. And I think I saw that you actually went down the route of announcing the price before, right? So because we sort of give people the option, right? And so why did you do that, and how did it work?
I think because I truly believed in the fact that it was a score. And I have built enough of a community and a following that has paid lots of different prices, be it for speaking events or to see me in person. And I thought, listen, my ideal client is going to see, do you know what I mean, what I can offer the world and go, holy crap, right? And it did work. Before I even announced my sales page went live, I woke up the one morning and I had 3 orders, right? So I think I just really, honestly, Dan, I believed in it. And I thought, listen, if you're not willing to pay at least that much, bye. It sounds funny, but then you're not my ideal client, right? There's a lot of value in this program. So
I think that's super important what you said about the fact you'd already built all that trust and you have that community, because I think that for me, that's the biggest question that you need to ask yourself if you're thinking about, do I announce the price before or not? If you need to build more trust, then don't announce the price because you can build that trust on the phone. But for you, you'd already done that, and therefore you could sort of jump ahead a little bit.
totally. And that's why I totally was processing for a while. Oh, but Dan said, and then I've read this, and it took me a while, honestly. I think it was the last thing I honestly added to that sales page was the price. Yeah. But I made it like I said what the value was and crossed it out, right? And made it like look extra appealing.
Yeah. Really cool. Nice. Well, look, if you're watching live, if you're not watching live, I should say we're recording this live. So we have the Passion Fighter community here on Facebook. We have Lawrence, Liam from the team. We have Kirsten, I think that is actually, and a bunch of other people who haven't commented yet. So let us know how you're doing. Give us a hashtag live in the comments. And you can, of course, ask your questions so that Pam or myself can answer them. So Pam, let's jump into, what does dare not to compare mean? This is a really interesting concept.
So my brand is Limitless Living, and it's specifically I've done fitness, but I march to the beat of my own drum, and I always have. often joke that like 17 years ago, I was a lone ranger in the BOPO industry, like body positivity, because that didn't even exist, right? And so about 10 plus years ago, when I had like boot camps for women in the outdoors here in Kingston, Ontario, I thought, how really can I put in the personal growth factor when they're showing up for like an hour? Sure, we can stretch and chat after, but what can help facilitate community a little bit, right? And what we're really about. And so I developed the Limitless Living guiding principles. And they're like not only for fitness, but also for life. So they serve people a lot when they're in class, but also in life. And so dare not to compare is, I remind women they're on their own journey. Let's not get trapped in who's stronger, fitter, faster, leaner, older, wiser, younger, all of the things. And just remind ourselves we're here for us. And so I always joke that I say I teach what I need to know. And so in terms of relation, when it comes to building this app, I realized self-trust had to be huge, because if I was to ask every and anybody what they wanted me to build or what they thought would be a really good idea, I probably wasn't going to get the answer of what I wanted to put out into the world, right? Including my own sister, who's one of my biggest supporters because she follows X, Y, and Z fitness app. And oh, sis, you should do this. And one day I got off the phone before I did the launch and I went, whew, I'm just going to leave that conversation there, because she believes this will be successful, but don't compare, Pam, remind yourself what you want to put out into the world. And yeah, so that kind of all ties in.
I really love that I teach what I need to know.
Yep.
Um, because it also packaged into that little statement is some vulnerability to say, like, I don't have all the answers. I need
Yep.
to remind myself of these things, and humility. I struggle as well. I'm not like this sort of amazing guru who never suffers, who never fails, who never, compares. Um,
100%.
yeah, that's
And
fantastic. I love that.
vulnerability is it's a part of my brand. And I kind of did it unknowingly
Yeah,
because I think like based on my story and my roads traveled is I didn't see how it would serve women and serve my audience
yeah,
to attempt to show that I was anything but someone who perhaps struggled with similar things, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And so it just is. And then that makes work almost not feel like work, Dan, right? It's saying, no, you know what? Your trainer actually who's leading these classes had a concussion a few months ago and a lot of, stuff went down where I couldn't be active and maybe I'm not in my strongest, fittest, leanest body right now and that's okay. That's cool. We're living in a world pandemic and people are locked down, but like let's get at this together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that. I this is a little bit related, so bear with me. But I went to an acting class for something called the Meisner technique, and I'm not an actor. I'm also not interested in becoming an actor.
okay.
But the reason I went is because I'd heard from a couple of entrepreneurs that this particular technique is very interesting in terms of
Hmm.
becoming a good speaker and that sort of thing. And one of the things that the instructor said, Meisner was one of the sort of founding fathers of acting. And he actually learned directly from him. So
Okay.
it was like a sort of senior guy in that space.
Yeah.
And he said that the reason that people go to see movies or whatever is so that they can just look at someone who is just okay with themselves. Like the reason why people like good actors is because they
Hmm.
can look at someone who's not like neurotic and self-conscious, and they can just look at someone who's comfortable in their own skin, and
Yeah.
that's a comforting thing. And we're speaking right now, you're chilling there with your morning coffee, and we're having a chat, and you're speaking openly about where you're at in your life, and
Mhm.
people, and it might sound simple, but like people, that is just so valuable to people
I
to
agree.
just see you being a regular human.
I couldn't agree more, honestly, Dan. I guess sometimes I think back to my own life and my own aha moments and pivotal moments. And when I grew and when I learned more about myself and was able to become a better version of me. And it came from people being vulnerable and sharing their own stories. Like who I look up to is admirable because of what they went through, what they learned, and what that ended up ultimately, having them become. That's me personally, and everybody's also entitled to their own opinion, right? But I don't get much value from a curated news feed that says, steps to a happy life, 1, 2, 3, 4, pow. I just don't, and I also just don't buy into it after having worked with hundreds of women over the years who have been a safe space for, and that's not the storyline. So then who's going to be inspired by that? I
Yeah.
think kind of alluding to what you said is a lot of people are looking for permission to like be themselves and be okay if they feel X, Y, and Z about certain things.
Mm.
So it's like when you see that in someone that maybe inspires you or motivates you, I think that that could be really just provide so much for people, just to be like, whew, I am so not alone. Cool. My coach has got me, like she gets me.
Mm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, tell me about Simon Sinek. Some of you know him from his book Start with Why or some TED Talks. When we were preparing for this chat, you said that this is something that was really important to you. Tell us a bit about why.
Yeah. Do you follow his work at all,
I
Dan?
love him. Yeah, love
I
him.
love him. Right. And he talks about the whole concept of people buy why you do things, not the what and the how. And if you search, for those of you watching, if you search his YouTube, like literally go Simon Sinek, and I think it's the golden circle, he calls it, or you can even just write why and you'll definitely see it because it's super popular. And he talks about Apple, like in comparison to Dell and all the other companies, right? It's got what their devices and things are capable of doing, and the how, I'm sure they all have smart people working on it, is not the deciphering factor that's built this brand. And I remember years ago when 2015, 2016, when I happened to come across the video, what was cool to me is it reaffirmed in hindsight that I was kind of selling and living that way. Why I did what I was doing. I led with that conversation quite a bit. I even put it a piece of my story on my sales page when I launched this program. Right. And I think you said it in one of the videos, Dan, is that, people buy with emotion, and someone's story, when someone can see themselves, I think in a story, how does that not elicit emotion? So not only it's like, hang on, I see myself in Pam's story. She's also providing hope and a solution that there's another way. Like I just got goosebumps. I'm like, how could, from a business perspective, yeah, there's a sale to close, but also like, it's powerful. And Simon, even Simon says so.
Simon Says.
Yes, right.
I think that's the name of his podcast, actually. Yeah, you also said something in there as well, very important, I think, to stress when talking about storytelling. You said that a story elicits emotion, and another bit of self-development I went to Vegas to go to a storytelling and public speaking seminar,
Awesome.
and one of the key things I took away from that was elicit emotion, don't emote. And a lot of people, when they tell their story, they fall into a bit of a trap of, emoting. So that, and it was crazy and it was so bad and it was so awful. And they're sort of emoting, they're like sharing their emotion. But a great story actually elicits emotion. It gets the listener or the person watching to feel something, to relate, to put themselves in your shoes. And that's very different. And I've seen examples of both, and it really has a very different impact.
It does. And I think what really differentiates the two is the eliciting emotion. You're speaking to them. It's about them. I think the emoting is, hi, me. And someone's
Right.
like, okay, let's like work on your, and I've seen the same too, Dan. It's very obvious when it comes across. It's like, man, they need a place to share, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's the sales page. Like, do it somewhere else, write a blog. Yeah, I get
Love
that.
that.
Yeah.
You also said in the prep for this that you said don't, like, in terms of advice you would give people, you would
Mhm.
tell people to not stress about the tech or app part. What did you mean by that?
I've been in the industry for years, Dan, and I've hired web companies before locally and brought my ideas. And I've honestly, your team has nailed it with a product that just felt so user friendly for someone who can get so overwhelmed with this, and to be able to find something where it's just like, oh my God, the courses, the subscription model, the things I want to put into the world are really simple. And if I have a question, I've got a team behind me, but I mean, I'm not a huge techie by all means, and I went through the 30-day Unleash challenge with you and at like an alarming rate, not the 30 days. I condensed it because I loved it. And, you know, I watched Liam's videos, even on the nights where I told myself I wasn't going to work. And it just, it's that easy. Like, I was like, even when I bought it, I'm like, is it really that easy? Or like, am I going to have to request extra onboarding calls? And I was like, oh no, it is. And it's like any question I had, you guys had an article or a solution. And, you know, I've jumped into the group. Our Facebook group has been awesome of people really supporting one another, you know, and jumping in. So I think for when I said that, I really want people to like, man, if you have an offering that you believe in and something that you really want to do, just trust that the tech piece works. Like, I honestly spent way more time on my sales page and content than building week one in the app, you know? Right? Like and this is someone who's like not a fan of like, I do it, but I don't feel at ease with it. Whereas like once I actually got into it and was looking at what you guys had, I was like, oh, it is that easy. You know?
Thank you. Hey, yeah, but thank you for making use of all of those things, because, you know, our team put a ton of work into it. They're wonderful people, and you really have utilized everything that we've worked on to try and make it easy for you. You've done your piece. That's really cool. You know, I'd like to finish up with your struggles, because as you've been through this process,
Yep.
you know, it's probably been not all plain sailing. It's probably been tough. You said at the beginning you had 30 people sign up, and you did one deal, so you made almost $6,000, right, in a 6-day launch, which is awesome. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now going like, wow, $6,000 in 6 days. That's awesome. What was the toughest moment, or the moment of like, oh, maybe I'm going to turn back?
Well, in full transparency, I'd invested in this model in July, right? And so it did take a while before I really put the pedal to the metal for tons of different reasons, personal and professional. You know what, Dan? I think what's a hard question is I don't know if I actually had a moment when I said I'm not going to do it. It was a matter of when. And it was a matter of, I guess my struggle for me was going, whew, drop your shoulders, open up your login and take a look at this. So if anything, I think the first step was, a lot of people buy stuff and then never do it, never open it, never play the lesson, never do it. We've all been there, right? And so I think for me, the hardest part was getting in and seeing that, okay, it is that easy. Just Pam, watch the video. Okay, do what Liam said. You know, I think that was the biggest challenge for me. And I'm going to have a feeling that speaks to quite a few people, because this is why we invested in you guys, because we don't have the technical capabilities to put something out into the world, you know? And so as much as sometimes we buy something because someone sells it to us that it is easy, don't get me wrong, it's not like I still didn't question it, you know, like I paid, you know, I made my first payment, whatever, I get my member login and I'm still going, yeah, but is it? You know, like I don't know how many videos I watched of your challenge before I even went into the app and even looked at any of Liam's videos. I was just like, let's leave that over here, but let's visualize my future first. Right? So I think that I do maybe speak to a lot of people. It's like, we want to do the thing, and maybe we believe in our program or our offer or whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, I've had moments of hesitation with that too. But the trickiest kind of turn back point was, am I actually going to use this app system, and is it that easy?
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, because we see, we're very data driven, and we see a lot of people who, we look at how often people log in, and how many times they log in and everything like that. And we see people who invest like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in the platform and only log in once, or no times. And you just think, I mean, from our perspective, it's like frustrating,
Of
but
course,
what
because we want to help.
we want to help, right? We want to give value, and we can't give value if they don't log in. But what I
Mhm.
think is so interesting is like, that you're right. There's totally a mental barrier to just taking that first step of, I'm going to type in my credentials and I'm just going to like, just that step. It's like a weird psychological barrier. That's so
I
interesting.
had to reset the password. I don't know how many times. Like, I didn't even know where the web, like, because it's like different. Like, I didn't even go to the app building part for I don't know how many videos I watched of the 30-day challenge. I'm like, yeah, I'm building an app. I'm building an app, everybody. And then like, oh, shit, I haven't even looked in, you know what I mean, into where I'm actually building the damn thing.
Funny. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
great to know. I don't know how we're going to solve that yet, but that is a
I know,
great
I
insight. No, but that's great. I mean, maybe it's in the copy. Maybe we can get people to log in without realizing it, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm building my app, and they've sort of overcome that barrier without realizing.
know.
But I didn't even know that problem existed. That psychological sort of barrier existed, and it's so interesting. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, listen, people like us into personal growth and wanting to make
yeah,
stuff happen. Oh yeah, I'll play your videos on Unleash Challenge and visualize my future as I've done numerous times before and all of that. But
yeah,
I think even from following along in the group, I think it is once you get to the days, right, where people need to launch or to need to hype something or whatever, that's
yeah.
where what I'm seeing in the group is when people get nervous or they need reaffirmation. And that is kind of that point where shit, now you got to build it. And this is the uncomfortable piece, right? The tech piece, the building piece, all of that. So I think what I probably said resonates a lot, and as much as we want to obviously believe when we press buy now, that it is that easy on your
Yeah.
marketing material, I think there's a piece of us that go, I don't know.
Yeah. I've got Anna in the chat right now saying, I would love to know how we can solve that problem. Anna, are you experiencing the same thing with your customers, that people invest but then don't take the action? Is that something that's happening for you? What would you, Pam, if I mean
Yeah.
it's only just happened, like your launch
No,
hasn't
I'm
even finished, right?
thinking
But
already.
yeah, what would you suggest there?
You know what? I'm trying to think. Honestly, I feel like I'm pulling together a lot of what we talked about today. But I think that if I saw, listen, I love Christmas Abbott. She's awesome. She's a big name. So she's a success story. We get it, right? But if I saw someone even that I relate to in a marketing snippet, you know what I mean, that actually almost like shared with me that it is that easy. And that was the biggest concern, like someone that's relate, like, and a variety of people, like you get the stay at home mom, you get the male dad warrior, like someone who can relate to all your ideal clients, perhaps sharing a bit of their why and their story and how this kind of solved it all for them.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
love that.
Like, I don't know, because that's the thing is you guys only have after someone presses buy now, sure, you guys are great. You have the welcome videos. There's an onboarding call. Like you got that. I had that literally that night before I went to bed. It was a
Yeah,
matter of if I was going to use it all or not,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's great. We have a framework that we developed called with the letters ICE, ICE,
Sure.
and it's a framework to have impact on people, and it's inspire, clarity, expectations. So what you've just described is for me is the inspire piece, which is share the stories of people who've been successful, inspire. What it really means is like inspire your listener, your customer, whatever it is, that it's possible for them, that they can get a real result, and because in the end, until they believe something is going to work for them and that they are excited about it, they're not going to put in the work, right? So that's the first piece.
Totally.
But inspiration isn't enough. So C is clarity, which is like they should have no confusion about what they need to do. They should know exactly where to go to log in, exactly what to type in, exactly what video to do. In the video, you need to give them very clear, like I try to do in the Expert Unleashed Challenge, which is like every day, I don't give you 50 million things to do. I give you like 3 clear things, because then I know that I've given you clarity and you can, and people can execute on that.
Yeah.
And then the third one is expectation. And I think that this might also help you, Anna, as well, which is we as humans, we're social animals, and we're desperate to be accepted by the tribe, from an evolution perspective. And so if someone expects us to do something, it's really hard for us to not do it, like if you're walking down the street, it would be very weird to just scream at the top of your voice, because like no one would expect you to do that. We all live in alignment with expectations of others. And so if you
Yes.
set an expectation to your clients, so Anna said that her clients love it when she goes live, but then they're not really using the app. In the live, I would tell people like, hey, look, We've got another live in a week. Before then, there's 2 videos I want you to watch in the app. Do this and do this before we speak again. And then tell me next time what you thought about it. Create that expectation, that social pressure, basically.
Yeah.
And they're far more likely to take action.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Impact, clarity, not impact, inspire,
Higher
clarity.
clarity and expectation. The expectation, I think, part is huge.
Yeah.
And I noticed that. And you know what? I think also clients want that.
That's
They
right.
like you said, you know what I mean? In your Expert Unleashed challenge, you put reasonable, clear goals and expectations of what to get done before
Yeah.
we visited the next video, right?
Yeah.
And you know where I'm kind of like, the light bulb went off is all my calls that I've had this week. Like they wanted to know too, what should I be doing? What do you think? Like what do you so it's like I think our clients look for that too. They
Yeah.
look for the clarity and the expectations to be set.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's part of the reason they're investing, part of the reason they don't go and watch YouTube videos for free, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Pam, it's been such a pleasure speaking to you.
Awesome.
I know that based on the chat, if from those watching live, I know that people have got just tons of value from this and really enjoyed it,
Good. Awesome.
including James from my team, who's messaging me on the side going, "This is amazing with Pam." Um,
Awesome. Good.
so where can people follow you? How can they keep in touch?
Yeah, well, my website is pamfountas.com. So PAMFOUNTAS. And if anybody's even interested, this might be helpful, is that I did my sales page from my website. I did it that way because I know I have a bit of a following there. If people wanted to kind of take a look at other things that I did, right, so that's where I did it. That being said, my ultimate goal is to also really nail down that sales page in the front of the web app, as right now I'm only using it as a web app and most of the content isn't even there yet. My challenge starts on Monday, right? So if people want to take a look at that, and I'm only saying this because I felt humbled. Like I have a friend who's very successful in marketing and she's had some great companies. And she said, when I launched that day, she's like, I looked at it and she's like, you nailed it. But I also did some business training on how really to kind of structure a sales page. So people who go over there will see, like they'll see my why in there. They'll see me calling out, what the struggle is, providing the solution in a way where you get the client to imagine something. You'll see call to actions, you'll see me anticipating clients' needs, and almost answering their questions right after I've announced something, like as if I'm like, nah, but hang on, can I play at any time? Pam answers, can I? So definitely take a look there. I hope it, and I'm only saying that, like, I'm hoping it'll just be helpful just because other colleagues in the industry have said that it's helped them. So yeah, and I'm on Instagram, Pam_Fountas. I have my Facebook business page too. I have fun on it. I'm not, I like social media. I'm not like, I know I have to do it, but I'm looking forward to building the brand in other avenues too. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Real quick, because I asked you, Pam, before we went live, I wanted to clarify exactly how you pronounce your surname. And then you told me a funny story about your sister. Can you do you mind telling everyone?
100%. He's like, how do you pronounce your surname? I'm like, well, I say Fountas. My sister says Fountas, but in Greek, it's actually Foudas.
I just love you and your sister
Basically,
disagreeing how to pronounce your own name.
any speaking event I go to, it's the same question. And to be honest, it's almost the same laugh, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, because even my name is Panayota. Like Pam is my English name.
Yeah.
Most everybody knows me by Pam, but
That's
it's
great.
Panayota. And here's another funny one for you.
Yeah.
Panayota with an N, right? So when people realize that, they go, well, wait a second. Why didn't your parents call you Pan? Right? And I go, my answer is because they liked me. Like, I'm like, who sent their kid off to nursery school, preschool, and go, okay, Pan. Anyway, so I thought you might appreciate that one. Like, I'm like, really?
I think my favorite part of that is imagining that when you go and say, hi, I'm Pan, and then they say, what, Pam? And you say, no, Pan with an N. You have to actually double up on the Pan thing.
Right? Oh, anyways. There's another one for you.
Beautiful. Han, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And thank you everyone for listening and watching the Passion to Profession podcast, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.